My husband left me for my best friend while I was fighting cancer. 2 years later, they begged me to save everything they had. The text message arrived while I was sitting in a hospital chair waiting for my chemotherapy appointment. 7 words. We need to talk when you're home. After 10 years of marriage, I knew those words never meant anything good. I just didn't know how bad it would be. When I got home, my husband Daniel was sitting on the couch. Beside him was my best friend, Rachel. My stomach immediately dropped. Rachel had been my friend since college. She was the person who drove me to doctor's appointments. The person who brought me soup after treatments. The person who held my hand when I was terrified. Then Daniel said something that shattered my world. I love Rachel. For a moment, I honestly thought I misheard him. But then Rachel started crying. And I knew. The affair had been going on for nearly a year. While I was battling cancer. While I was losing my hair. While I was fighting to stay alive. The 2 people I trusted most had been sneaking around behind my back. The betrayal hurt more than the disease ever had. 3 weeks later, Daniel moved out. 2 months later, he moved in with Rachel. 6 months later, they announced their engagement. Apparently, they didn't want to waste any time. Meanwhile, I was learning how to survive on my own. Again, I lost my marriage. I lost my best friend. I lost the future I thought I had. And honestly, there were nights I cried myself to sleep wondering what I had done to deserve any of it. Then something unexpected happened. I got better. My treatments worked. My scans came back clean. The doctors called it remission. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I could think about the future again. So I sold the house Daniel and I once shared. I moved to another city, and I started over. That's where I met Ethan. At first, he was just the owner of a small coffee shop near my apartment. Every morning I'd stop by. Every morning he'd remember my order. Then one day he noticed the scar near my collarbone from surgery. Instead of looking uncomfortable like most people did, he simply asked, "How are you doing now?" Not what happened. Not, "Are you okay?" "How are you doing now?" It was such a simple question, but nobody had asked me that in years. We became friends, then close friends, then something more. Ethan wasn't rich. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't perfect. But he was kind. The kind of person who showed up. The kind of person who stayed. The kind of person who never made me wonder where I stood. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. Then came the twist. 2 years after Daniel left me, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Rachel. I almost hung up immediately. Then I heard her crying. Real crying. Not fake crying. Not guilt crying, desperate crying. And what she told me left me speechless. Daniel had emptied their savings account, every cent, then disappeared. Gone. Apparently he had secretly invested their money into a business venture. The venture failed. Spectacularly. And when creditors started calling, he panicked. Rachel was left with debt, legal problems, and a mortgage she couldn't afford. The man she destroyed our friendship for had abandoned her exactly the way he abandoned me. Part of me wanted to laugh. Part of me wanted revenge. But mostly, I felt sad. Because Rachel looked exactly like I had looked 2 years earlier. Broken, lost, humiliated. Then came the biggest twist of all. A few weeks later, Daniel contacted me, not Rachel, me. Apparently he had discovered I was doing well. Apparently he had learned I was engaged to Ethan. Apparently he had also learned Ethan had recently sold part of his business and was financially successful. And suddenly Daniel wanted to apologize. He asked to meet. Against my better judgment, I agreed. The moment I saw him, I barely recognized him. The confident man who left me was gone. He looked exhausted, defeated, older. Then he said something I never expected. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I stayed silent. I thought I wanted excitement. Still silent. I thought I deserved something better. He laughed bitterly. Turns out I already had it. For a second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then he asked if there was any chance we could start over. I genuinely couldn't believe it. The audacity. The man who cheated while I was fighting cancer wanted a second chance. The man who abandoned me wanted another opportunity. The man who broke my heart wanted me to fix his. I smiled. Not because I was happy. Because for the first time, I realized I didn't love him anymore. Not even a little. "I hope you find peace, Daniel." Then I stood up and walked away. That was it. No dramatic speech. No screaming. No revenge plan. No humiliation. Just goodbye. 3 months later, I married Ethan. Our wedding was small, simple, beautiful. While standing at the altar, I suddenly realized something. Daniel had taken 10 years of my life. Rachel had stolen my trust. Cancer had taken my health. But none of them took my future. Because the best revenge wasn't watching their lives fall apart. The best revenge was building a life so happy that I no longer cared what happened to them. Last month, Ethan and I celebrated our 2nd anniversary. We're expecting our first child. And every now and then I think about the woman sitting in that chemotherapy chair reading a devastating text message. If I could talk to her now, I'd tell her one thing. The people who betray you don't always win. Sometimes they lose everything. And sometimes the life waiting for you on the other side is better than anything you could have imagined. What would you have done if your spouse cheated while you were battling cancer? Was Rachel deserving of forgiveness after what she did? Comment below what you think.